have to learn. Don't look at poetry as having to learn.
I will say, as somebody who's experienced incarceration, I always struggled against this belief that there was kind of an us and a them. But when I see the way that Prison Arts Collective works, both from a higher education perspective, a university-based program, and art as a tool for transformation, it's really incredible, because what ends up happening is the program becomes a pathway for people, but it takes people who are, from the university, from the community, to say, art's for everyone.
In an environment that thrives off of separation, like, how do you bring people together? How do you make the prison system more safe? Sometimes that starts with creating a smaller safe space, and then your participants are the ones going out to the yard, being voice of reason on the yard and helping reduce violence.
I was incarcerated for a little over 10 years, predominantly at the California Institution for Women. For me, art was I never really thought of it as a way to identify with myself. I never thought myself as like an artist or anything, so I never delved into what art could do. And so being a part of Prison Arts Collective really opened up so many doors for me. I approached my time and my life in a logical way, but I could never connect what I was thinking and feeling to my voice. Like, I wasn't able to ever really express myself in the way that I wanted to be heard. So first, being a student with PAC, I was able to do that in a different way. I was able to connect my thoughts and my feelings to my hands, to whatever the art was we were doing. And it was cathartic. I could actually like work through my feelings and thoughts and beliefs and even my values on whatever medium we were using, whether it was poetry, if it was painting. I have my very first painting that I did with Prison Arts Collective, and it's on my wall, and I look at it, it's this beautiful bird, and it reminds me of like, I am healed, like I'm healing, and it was art that helped me with this.
It's so interesting when people ask me how I started Prison Arts Collective, because it really evolved organically. It isn't like I set out to start this project. It's more so that I had a goal to expand access to the arts, and I have been doing it in various different ways for most of my career. And I think it's really important that everyone has access to the possibilities of imagination and transformation and joy and self-understanding and connection that the arts give us. And that is the bigger goal from which Prison Arts Collective grew. So when I was teaching at Cal State San Bernardino, I was transforming the curriculum to be more student-centered and to be more community engaged. At that same time, the prison in Chino reached out to the university, and my department chair was like, "Hey, Annie, hey, this seems like a good fit for you." And I started talking to them, and we ended up bringing some arts classes to that prison as well. So that's really how it all started. We now provide programming in 15 prisons across the state. We've served 7,500 people in California since that started in 2013. So it's grown quite a bit, and it has formalized into the project that we now know as the collaborative project, Prison Arts Collective.
Really what Prison Arts Collective has really taught me is how to express my emotion, because that was really one of the problems of even getting incarcerated, was because I didn't understand emotion regulation, how to control my emotions, and what to do with even like sensitive feelings. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a big heart and being extremely sensitive or having these big emotions, but Prison Arts Collective has taught me to a way to channel that and a way to express it. And really, I find that in some of my deepest moments, I have produced the best art. Right. So it's actually really taught me and to utilize art as a huge positive coping skill. And it's been such a blessing to my life, you know, and just to know that I'm not alone in that, you know, and it's just a fabulous way of expression.
I have been doing photography of prison art programs for like 20 years. And early in that project of mine, I got hooked up with the Prison Arts Collective and fell in love with their program and have been photographing their classes ever since. I've probably photographed 30 or 40 Prison Art Collective classes in a variety of prisons up and down the state of California. PAC has some really exciting programs. They, first of all, are the only program that I'm aware of that is academic-based. PAC is also one of the few arts providers in California that does this train the trainer model. They call them facilitators.
I was incarcerated at the age of 16. I received a sentence of 50 years to life. I had the same kind of mentality and thinking for the good portion of my initial time in prison. But I got around some mentors that kind of helped me get involved with, rehabilitative programs and groups. And that kind of steered my thinking and ultimately my trajectory in the most best way. While incarcerated, there's a limited amount of things that can essentially train you on professionally. So having the opportunity to have a college professor along with college students come in and have a training program, to a lot of us, it was like once in a lifetime opportunity.
I think the facilitator training is the most unique thing that we do. I've never seen it anywhere else. And I also think in many ways it's perhaps the most impactful because they come into the classes thinking, wait, I'm going to teach? What do you mean? I can't teach. I'm not a teacher. And it's like, well, let's just take the class and see, and they stay. And then by the end, we have peer facilitators who are some of our most powerful teachers and create these really innovative classes that I personally or others of us who have not had the experience of being incarcerated could never create or teach.
Yesterday is gone, and hope will find the ocean and radically find peace. That's the tanker, all right?
It really interested me to get involved with teaching in prisons. I think specifically because I wanted to be surrounded by folks that were equally excited about art. I was at the Central California Women's Facility and I was very nervous. It was my first time at a facility of any sort. So I was all shook up and concerned, okay, am I wearing the right clothes? Am I gonna say the wrong thing? How much physical contact is okay? I don't really know. But after I actually got to the space and I actually got a chance to chat and communicate with our facilitators in training and the folks that were supporting us on site, all that just went away. It was immediately just art conversation. And it was very interesting how a lot of the setting melted away because we were there for art.
So PAC developed this leveraging process where they go into the prisons, they find artists who are already accomplished artists, and they ask them if they want to become art teachers in the prison where they're incarcerated. And if they agree to, PAC runs them through, I believe it's a rigorous 2-year program to become art teachers. And these accomplished artists then begin teaching their fellow incarcerated folks in the prisons.
The program for them to become facilitators is very rigorous. I was surprised, and I tell them that any of them that can hold their own in this program, our facilitator training program, could hold their own in any community college or any BA program that I've seen. And we're here to support them experiencing that success.
I was serving a life sentence at Ironwood State Prison, and I seen a poster up on the wall about facilitator training. And I was already facilitating some classes, so I felt that that would be a good fit and help me strengthen my facilitation skills. You know, by the time that I was affiliated with PAC, I think I had been through over 1,000 hours of self-help groups myself, going through them, and then becoming a facilitator. But PAC taught you the nuts and bolts of actual facilitation. Like how do you do this in order to create a space where individuals who are usually not heard are comfortable sharing their voice through artwork. PAC really teaches you how to do that, how to listen to the artist, right?
Prison Arts Collective came in, they gave us this packet, and in the packet, we had to study. We had to study perspectives, we had to study, analyze, how to analyze art, we had to study what colors mean, how to use color, different forms of art.
Training was, at first it was kind of daunting because the packets were kind of thick. So for myself, I didn't even finish high school, you know, so it always scares me. The classroom setting always scares me, but you know, I was optimistic about it, and I did my best, like I always do, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and then I started working with the peers in here, and we started just going through the steps of it, and it turned out pretty good.
When I first started, it was like we had to do a lot of paperwork. It was a lot of work and studying and reading. I was like, man, prison, I've never seen a part of an art class you do a lot of reading. But it gave me insight of understanding what art is all about and appreciating art within its own form. So we coming to that, now I know how to articulate and teach a class, and this is what prison arts does. It don't just teach you one form of art, teach you all the forms of art. Always this was taught, this art is just about drawing, that's it, but it's different forms of art, acting, writing poetry, which we learned today, and from speaking, and also drawing too. And it helped me a lot because coming to the class, it helped me a lot to how to deal with my anger or from boredom and deal with issues that I had, underlying issues I never knew how to deal with.
This was the first formal training that we received, and it shaped how it really impacted the whole facility. It impacted how the facilitators facilitated in groups, also enhanced our understandings of what it means to facilitate in these programs. So it enhanced our capabilities and our impact in the programs that we facilitated. It enhanced our understandings about ourselves and also the connection with the people that we are facilitating to, the participants. So with that, it essentially increased the effectiveness of CDCR goal of helping people inside rehabilitate, and all stem from how to train people to be art facilitators.
I don't know if you know or not, prison used to be a very violent place. Very violent place, and it had hard lines, hard color lines. But now with classes like these, we start to grow our community, you know, our human community, and see each other as human beings rather than an enemy or something to attack or, you know, be defensive of. So now we know about each other's families, we know about each other's struggle, we know about each other's pain, abuse, our whole lifestyles. We know each other's mothers' names, and this is different races. We hug on the yard, this is different.
You know, poetry and expression emotions was, you know, kind of in a sense viewed as a weakness. And, you know, in a prison environment, you know, weaknesses are definitely something to stay away from, because nobody wants to be deemed a victim. You know, and it's unfortunate because there is a level of strength and vulnerability that, for myself, you know, I found that I didn't get to experience for a large portion of my incarceration. I've been incarcerated for 23 years, and I hid behind a facade of, you know, masculinity and just a sense of anger, because I didn't know how to process and express my emotions. You know, and through poetry and actually sharing my poetry, I was able to see that not only was I in tune with my emotions, but other people could empathize with them. And there was a connection that was built in within people that we thought we were completely different. I found that in expressing my work to others and listening to someone share theirs, we encourage each other to grow.
There's a lot of negativity in prison and out in the yards and stuff. So I think we crave for some to put our talents to use and that positivity. So when we are given the chance to connect and we're in these classrooms, that's what we do. We start connecting. We learn about the next man and our common goals, which is to go home and be a productive member of society.
My name's Sonny. I put strength to be optimistic. Never give up. No, it's not the end of the world. You will go home and use your knowledge. And then for my haiku, this is what I painted. I put nature around us. Walls block my view. So cruel. Nature, I feel you.
Beautiful.
It's kind of like a cool experience because I get to meet people on a different level, you know, and it's like I don't have to meet them in the yard where they're pretending to be or wearing a mask, you know, and it's like they have to be somebody for their friends or, you know, it's like I get to meet them here on a different level and it's like, dang, she's awesome or she's amazing.
I have heard a number of participants describe the art room, the art class, as their sanctuary. And that really struck me. But they go on to explain that it's the only place in the prison where they feel safe and liberated and seen and heard. I attribute a lot of this to the instructors because it's the instructors who set the tone and the mood in the class. And this is true of not only instructors who come from PAC, but when the facilitators are trained in prison to become art teachers, they also learn this importance of creating a emotionally and physically safe space for the students.
Out on the yard, we have to wear a different mask, the yard, right? But when a person comes through these classes and they get to open up and be themselves with other people who they seen as their enemies and were taught these misnomers that another human being who went through the same struggle as you is your enemy, instead of the thing that you did, that should be your enemy. The crime and criminal lifestyle should be your enemy. When you come in here and you extend your family and a person says, man, I'm a changed person and I want to give this to someone else, we can change the yard from inside out. But it takes those to step into these classes, learn to be themselves, learn to be confident in themselves, learn to facilitate so that they can give what they got to other people. And those people can do the same thing, follow those footsteps. And when we walk out that door, we can be a bigger community. And the yard would have transformed as a result of us being facilitators, transforming ourselves and transforming others.
That's like my passion. I want to go out and I want to work with people who still suffer from addiction, but most of all, the at-risk youth. Because I know for me, that's where it all started. And I just feel if I had that somebody to push me or show me a different route, like I think my life would be different today.
Being in prison isn't easy, but when we come to these programs, these classes, we just treat each other like our brothers, you know, love, respect, and we're here for one another. So I really enjoyed the unity out of it.
And the safe space is therapeutic to every one of us. It helps us get through whatever we go through during the week, because we all have our own personal issues. Then when we come to the safe space, like you said, it's therapeutic for all of us.
It's easier to express myself on paper than to go talk to the psychiatrist. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you feel like that too? Yeah. What about you? What Totally. Like some people like to write, some people like to talk. I just like, to just paint and do whatever. And I love that she teaches us different ways of doing that. Just different. She brings different artists and and it just inspires big time.
Teaching now in the PAC program, it's been a blessing because I have been noticing the change in how powerful it is. The music has a therapy for others. Saving them from trouble, saving them from being when they feel stressed and they come and they say, hey, can I play piano? Can I play guitar? And they come to practice. That's when I see that it helped them to relieve, that stress and that maybe anger or whatever they're going through.
Expressionism, that's a way for me to just kind of, I guess it does kind of bring some healing. You know, it's meditating. You know, I get lost. If I'm in a bad mood, I could just go to my art and start painting, and my mood goes away, or I just leave it on the canvas.
I work for the National Veterans Foundation, and I got into facilitating the Prison Arts Collective inside at Ironwood State Prison in 2017. It was amazing. So I could take the history and my history and not repeat my mistakes simply by sharing facilitation with other incarcerated individuals. Let them use the writing that I was going to show them the process of giving them prompts and having them tell a story to me. Tell me your story. I'm interested in their story to hear what they have to say so that they learn about themselves and they don't repeat their own history.
So one thing I guess I didn't expect was the deep appreciation I developed for art while I was in there, because I never really appreciated art. I wasn't exposed to it like that when I was raised. So being exposed to different kinds of arts and redefining what it means to be an artist, because I didn't consider myself to be an artist, really changed the way I envisioned myself and the people who were around me at Ironwood. For example, when I first came home, Prison Arts Collective, in collaboration with Homeboy Industries, did a showing at Homegirl Cafe. And, you know, I was fresh out of prison. And I remember seeing this piece in there, and the piece showed an individual in a CDCR jumpsuit, you know, razor wire, electric fence and all that. And it showed his daughter on the other side of that fence in a CDCR jumpsuit, really showing how trauma is transmitted from generation to generation. And, you know, acknowledging the fact if a child has a parent who's in prison, the likelihood that they're gonna be in prison is exponentially increased, right? And that artist was able to say that without a single word, just as a painting. And I remember like standing there looking at that piece crying.
Oftentimes, like, we view prisons to be these really dangerous places filled with really dangerous people. But I've seen, you know, through working with PAC, the transformation of people that they go through, you know, and how happy they are when their work gets recognized, when they get a compliment on their work, when they get a diploma, like at the end when we have graduation, you know, and like they see like this piece of paper with their name on it and they get super psyched. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what makes this work worth it.
Someone outside taking the time to acknowledge that, you know, we are needed. You know, we do got needs, and these guys just got needs to want to participate in when we use their talents here. That means a lot. That's anything that I get from these guys, that they love what they're doing. I see they're happy faces and the people around them. That's a blessing for me. You know?
They're being sponsors to us through instruments that they have been donated. They come and share time with us to have meetings and hey, what is it that you guys need? So all that, like sharing, you know, make us feel like even though that we are in prison, we still mean something. Our lives are still have value, and that our talents are not just wasted.
I think it was right after we started, so probably like 10 years ago, some participants asked us, can you show our work out in the world? And we were very small. We were at one prison working with student teachers. And so I connected with a friend in the LA art world who owned a gallery called CB1. And he was on board and excited, and we had this exhibition. And it was really special because we were able to bring in so much work that participants had created inside and show it in this very beautiful downtown gallery space. And in the end, it was such a hugely crowded opening. There was art folks just coming to see what was happening. There was family members of the artists. There was, you know, people interested in the work. And it just became a really nice, like, bridging of these two worlds. So we had this exhibition, we made a book, and then we gave the book through a donation. We were able to buy enough books to give to all the artists. And I was inside the prison, you know, visiting a class, and one of the participants said to me, like, oh, Annie, you know, I gave that book to my family. And now my daughter tells her friends at school that her dad's an artist.
The facilitators, they wanted to put together a show on the outside of their work because they wanted to have the artwork for sale and be able to donate part of those proceeds. They wanted to split the proceeds between PAC to donate towards the supplies for classes. And also the other part of the proceeds would go to Hope Now for Youth, which is an organization in Fresno that helps men, young men that are involved in gangs, helps them get jobs and training so they can leave the gang lifestyle. Maggie at Scarab Creative Center in Fresno was really responsive and really enthusiastic about it. And she opened up her venue, which is a beautiful venue.
But as the core of art, I think, is just this almost inexplicable human thing where we need it and it's true. And I've been an artist all my life and I've always struggled with that, who cares about this, even though I care, but who cares, And then you see sort of working in this world, you can really kind of see why it matters in this human way. That question of why does it matter? I don't know that it's answered, but it's clear that it does matter.
As a person who is not incarcerated and trying to grapple with that question of what is my use here, I think the biggest gift I can give is to strengthen people's imagination and make their inner world very vibrant and dimensional. I am an artist and I've been an artist my whole life. And so I love that I'm able to connect my passion for justice and wholehearted humans, and then connect that to my creative life. And so I'm very grateful that I'm able to live in an interconnected way.
There's something that happens that's always really memorable for me in both classes and all the classes that I've worked in. I'll get just the slightest smile, it's like a fifth of a smile, just like an uptick in their cheek, and it's super humble and it's very individual because they give each other a lot of space. And I can tell that smile means that they've surprised themselves with their own capacities, and it's just completely authentic, and it makes me think too about the creative education that they didn't all have access to when they were younger. So it's such a gift that we can give them, those tiny moments, because I think those tiny moments are what changes people's experiences of themselves.
One of the main ways that I know that PAC and programs like it are very successful is getting to know the alumni of these programs. For example, there are artists that PAC trained while they were incarcerated who have been released from prison now. And these men and women developed such an expertise in art and in teaching that PAC wanted to stay involved with them after they left prison. And in fact, PAC has hired a number of those artists to go back into prisons to teach their former peers art. And it's difficult for these men and women to go back into prison after they've been relieved. I get choked up just thinking about it. I've seen a man start sobbing when he went back into prison to teach with some of his former peers. But it's the power of these classes that gives these men and women the strength and the desire to go back in and teach.
We meet a couple times a month and are able to bounce ideas and give critique to different facilitation techniques that are being used, and new facilitators coming up with their own lesson plans. And now I know what they were doing with me way back then when I was first learning and had to come up with my own curriculum. And I was like, is this even gonna work? Is it possible? And yes, it is possible. You just have to implement it.
So what I'm doing with art now and how essentially I incorporate it into my life today is my current role is community liaison for Amity Foundation. And a lot of that has to do with communication. Going through the Prison Art Collective program enhanced my ability to express like complex thoughts in a creative way. And a lot of my writings, whether that be newsletters or emails or any other type of written communication throughout the organization, a lot of it has to be something that touched the right tone of informative, compassion, empathy, and emotions. And a lot of those nuances I learned and developed through the Prison Arts Collective program. So.
When I'm a facilitator, I give back to my peers. I give them a way to make amends. I give them a way to express empathy and sympathy.
As a PAC program, I can't think of a better outlet for people and prisoners, as far as prisoners, as far as therapeutically, as far as for these inmates. It's just such a blessing. You'll be able to take some time out of your way and come and set up and just get away from all that out there and just focus on music.
Para mí, si yo no hubiera ingresado al PAC program, entonces es muy probable que quizás tuvieran problemas por allá afuera. Problemas allá afuera. Pero no, para mí es una bendición. Agradezco muchísimo a mi poder superior por todo ello, ¿verdad? Y para mí, pues, deseo que esto siga el PAC program. Muchas gracias.
This has been a nice outreach, if you will. I mean, it really is, because it goes beyond just what's here, and it's not just about art. It's a good medium for everyone. So to me, it's been beneficial on a personal level. It's given me something to look forward to on a regular basis.
This world is really busy. By design, it's easy to forget that prisons exist, that people in prisons exist, and that people who are in prison are still people.
Having someone who is looking at you as an artist rather than someone who's in prison, right? And is listening, wants to know about your art rather than why are you here? What did you do? I think that's what contributes to people feeling of humanity for sure.
I just love the really deep transformation that I see happening in folks who are talented artists but haven't seen that potentially they have this part of themselves that could be a leader, could be a teacher, and then they're mentoring their peers. And so I think that's something they can take into their life, into their work, with their families. So I think that's something that I would love to see us not only sustain, but potentially guide others who want to do something similar.
I would like for, my vision for PAC and, the state of California really is that, PAC, arts programming, especially kind of this facilitator training model is available to everyone who wants it in California prisons. Ideally, all the prisons, because I think it's this tool that supports people, not just as artists, but it's an identity shift when people say, I'm no longer XYZ label. I'm an artist, I'm a facilitator, I'm a teacher, and they have, the skills and the resources and the support to do that.
I hope that people who see this are inspired to see themselves as part of a bigger whole, and to see that they, as well as all of us, are part of one big community, and that we're not separate. We're not, us and them, or these people inside and these people outside, that we all have different circumstances, but we're all part of a whole. And I hope that they also would see that it's possible to do something to make a difference. And it might not be teaching in prisons, it might not have anything to do with prisons, whatever it is that people feel that they could possibly make a difference. I hope that it inspires them to take a step and make a difference, because you can.